The deplorables know that they've been doing the heavy lifting for a long time. They're the guys from the small towns across America whose parents have the 9-to-5 jobs, make just enough to get them off to college, but infuse in them the values that matter the most. Love your country, be willing to fight for things greater than yourself, earn a paycheck because there's dignity in work, and raise a family that perpetuates that into the next generation that loves America. So the deplorables said, the way I give to my country is to give the way the previous generation did.
In November, we have so much actually at stake, so much to lose. The Democrats, they actually are saying, vote for us and we will raise your taxes.
What can you do but raise taxes?
You're used to hearing the Democrats say, vote for us, we'll give you free stuff here and free stuff there. Our small business owners right now, their optimism is sky high because they believe that these are the tax cuts that they're going to be facing in the future. But I'll tell you now that we're hearing a little bit of concern now because they're asking the question, what happens if they go away?
You raised the issue of taxes. Trump raised that issue. Let's talk about it.
What's too high for the top personal rate?
It's not about a number. That's what negotiations are all about.
What rate? Yes, we are going to end these. We'll come up with that rate, but it'll be a damn lot higher than it is right now.
This is Armageddon.
Is 50% obviously too high?
Look, there was a time in a very prosperous America where the top marginal rate was well above 50%.
Previously, you'd been asked if a 90% marginal rate is certainly too high, and you said no. So how high are you willing to go?
Not one Democrat voted to cut taxes. Not one.
And just as I promised the American people from this podium 11 months ago, we enacted the biggest tax cuts and reforms in American history.
The November 2018 elections are absolutely critical to see this president's agenda continue to move forward. This election, if it is an election about the success that our country is facing, Donald Trump wins and the Republicans keep and expand their majorities both in the Senate and the House. If this is a localized election where the Democratic candidates are running away from Nancy Pelosi and the leadership of the Democratic Party, then the Democrats are going to do very well.
We have come up with a lot of solutions, but we have Democrats that don't want to approve anything because that's probably, they think, bad for the election that's coming up.
What Democrats are very good at doing is they go into their districts, they campaign and say one thing, they come to Washington, D.C., and they do the exact opposite. That's what is on trial. That is what we are talking about for the November election.
Donald Trump is definitely on the ballot in every race across the country. You're either with an agenda, a reform agenda of Washington that is with the people to make government smaller and more effective and to return more money to the pockets of the American taxpayer, or you're with those in the Beltway that want to grow government, grow the size of its regulation, and to keep imposing itself on our lives.
Tell me what the Democrats are running on. What's their platform relative to the black community? Just think about the impact of voting Democrat and having several prominent black liberals chairing major committees. If you don't think elections matter, all I say is when you wake up this morning, think of Chairman Maxine Waters chairing the Financial Services Committee. That should scare you to vote Republican right there.
I don't think there's been a midterm election this important in my lifetime. Because the Democrats want to take us back to taxes and to the regulatory state and largely the politicization of everything, okay? One of the reasons the economy is doing well now is because the president is getting the boot of government off the necks of business people and farmers and people that make things, grow things, and build things.
And the government released its gross domestic product report for the second quarter this morning. It showed the U.S. economy grew 4.1% from April through June. That's the best showing since 2014.
The Democratic Party of America have wasted the first year and a half of the Trump presidency attacking him on nonsensical issues because they think, firstly, they control the media. They think, secondly, they control the culture. And so their ideas will pervade, their ideas will filter down necessarily no matter what. They don't rule the roost. They have no answers. So they resorted to racist and xenophobe and all these other things.
The Democrats have nothing to run on in November. What platform do they have? Are they going to vote on, let's bring ISIS back? Let's get rid of the 5 million job bonuses that have been created by the tax reform? Shall we not build the wall? They can't run on this. The 2016 election was a peaceful political revolution. and it was historic.
I have a whole list of accomplishments that the group behind me have done in terms of this administration and this Congress, but you've heard it before. We are making America great again.
But 2018 is even more important than the election of the president. The whole Make America Great Again agenda relies upon 7 more years of this administration being able to bring us back to where we should be. So yes, without a doubt, this election cycle is about the highest stakes possible for our nation.
There is a lot at stake in November for the American public, and it really comes down to one question, which is, who do you actually best believes deserves to make the choice for you? Do you make the choice for yourself, or do you allow the government to actually make the choice for you?
2018 is another election about Donald Trump. What they want to do is shut up the deplorables. They want to shut you up because you know what? They're scared of him. They are scared of what he's done. They're scared of the economy that he's created. It scares them that our allies in the world love us and trust us more than ever because they were supposed to hate this president, according to the elite media. They are terrified of President Trump because they're terrified of you and your values.
There's a new Gallup poll that shows President Trump's rating are on the rise, and 90%, in fact, of his party supports the president. That's the second highest rating in modern history for the GOP.
What is glaringly obvious is that the left and the opposition party in the media, they do not have any answers against the Make America Great Again agenda. They don't have any policy solutions. They know that Trump is on the rise out there in the polls because he's doing what he was elected to do. He's delivering jobs, he's securing the border, even his foreign policy, probably the greatest foreign policy we've seen in decades. 2018, therefore, represents a vote for Donald Trump or a vote for impeachment of Donald Trump, because they cannot defeat this agenda at the ballot box.
Impeach 45! Impeach 45!
If the Democrats win the midterms, they are going to go after Donald Trump for impeachment.
The only thing they can run on is hatred and the impeachment of the president. It is a foregone conclusion that if they lose the House and the Senate, impeachment proceedings will begin almost instantly.
We have some real big issues that we're going to be losing on. One is infrastructure, which was another big campaign promise. Building the wall is going to be imperiled. And depending on what happens in the Senate, the whole judicial nomination could come to a complete and grinding stop. We're going to have some Supreme Court vacancies that are going to determine the future of this country for the next 50 to 60 years. Those are critical nominations, and they need to get confirmed by the Senate when they're made. And if we lose, if the Democrats take the Senate as well, we're going to lose all those judicial nominations.
And that's why we must do everything in our power to block this appointment. Let's take a page out of Mitch McConnell's book and not have a vote on this until the midterm elections.
If they take the House, we will have a divided, impotent government where nothing gets accomplished. It will be ugly and horrible, even beyond the ludicrous and dishonest impeachment hearings, which manifestly corrupt Democrats will be conducting in the full light of day, with everyone knowing that it's purely a partisan exercise.
I don't respect this president. I don't trust this president. He's not working in the best interest of the American people. His motives and his actions are contemptible, and I will fight every day until he is impeached.
We have to keep the House, because if you listen to Maxine Waters, she goes around saying, we will impeach him. We will impeach him. Then people said, but he hasn't done anything wrong.
It's time for his agenda to be enacted fully. And we need the midterm elections to stay with the Republicans for that agenda to continue. Otherwise, you're going back to more regulation, more taxes, and more state control from an Obama-Clinton approach to government.
Going out in 2018 is like going out in 2016 or going out in 2020. This is a referendum as to whether or not the forgotten man will be remembered and whether or not the deplorables will still be heard. And whether or not we live in a system where a duly elected president is allowed to do his job.
The president is unstoppable. What he did when he ran for president wasn't done for money and wasn't done for fame. He will never give up, but he's only one man. For the last 30 years, our nation has been covered in an ice blanket of political correctness that froze solid the media, the arts, and politics. We allowed that blanket to fall. But then, 2 years ago, along came a man, the kryptonite of political correctness.
I will always put America first.
And like an ice-breaking ship, he slammed into that ice and broke a pathway and freed that sea lane up. But if you understand the physics of ice breaking, when that tungsten hull rides down on that ice and breaks it free, if you don't have a flotilla of ships that comes in right behind the icebreaker, in real life what happens? The ice comes around the bow, around the hull of the ship, and then almost instantaneously re-knits itself and closes off that waterway. America must create the flotilla. Every single person who is proud of what has been achieved must come to be part of that flotilla and to be what the military calls a force multiplier for the president. The stakes of the next election are even bigger than the one that changed the face of the nation